Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about the number 7 in tarot. And the reason I want to talk about that is because today is the 17th of July 2017. That means there are 3 sevens in this date. So whoever is born on this day will have in their numerology grid 777. 777, or the more sevens you got in your numerology grid, the more you might find yourself sacrificing in this lifetime. And sacrificing could be, for example, learning about abundance by being poor, learning about love by being in a bad relationship, or learning about love by losing love, or learning about... It's like everything you're learning because you have to either sacrifice or give up, or you might feel like you really need to be of service, and maybe you feel like you're not going to get what you need and deserve in this lifetime. Maybe you feel like you always have to give up, or other people's needs are more important than your own, and things like that. Now all of these problems, which is kind of like, it's not a high vibration, but it follows the sevens around a lot. They have kind of their origin in a lot of like the old kind of ways of thinking from ancestry, where it was a lot of sacrifice, often due to whatever religion was kind of dominant, and it's a lot of worthiness issues. It has a lot to do with wanting to seek sort of spirituality, but then it's also sacrificing things on this plane, this earthly plane. So it's almost like to get something you have to give something up to. And that can maybe be true in some ways, but when there's a lot of sevens in someone's numerology, that person will be doing it on a subconscious level a lot. But there are ways you can overcome this. It's by through meditation and prayers, and just maybe adjusting and seeing that this is what you're doing, and choosing to do it differently. But for a lot of people, they sacrifice a lot, and when there's a lot of sevens. So 777 in this stage, whoever is born on this date will probably sacrifice on all levels: financial, love, health even. That doesn't mean they're not going to find love. It just means it could take them a few relationships, or it could take them maybe a few hard lessons. They might go around, they might go around a few obstacles, or they might have to climb a few mountains before they kind of get to where they really need to be. And that is due to the way that they learn. They learn often through some sacrifices. And in your tarot, these are the sevens in tarot. There's 6 of them. So you got 7 of Wands, 7 of Cups, 7 of Pentacles, 7 of Swords. You got the Chariot, is the 7th card in the Major Arcana. And then you got the Tower, which is the 16th card, and 1 plus 6 is 7. So that means that the Tower is a very karmic card as well. 16 is a very karmic number. That means that basically just means that there will be some lessons that in whatever area you're asking about, that is kind of like, it's a huge shake-up. It's huge. It's a lesson you're going to learn very quick, and it's going to take you on a bit of a emotional, turbulent sort of upheaval. And it's not so much about really necessary what is going on a physical level. It could a lot of times just be what you're going through on the inside, and it's all about learning. Again, with the number 7, it's actually a very spiritual number. So it's actually there to, when it shows up, it's actually there to help you connect more and be actually more connected to yourself, and connect to the Creator, and connect to truth and love and all of these things. But it can happen sometimes in very traumatic ways, and sometimes it can happen in ways where you just feel completely lost. And it can happen when it's a Tower. It's like your biggest fear, like right there in your face. With the Chariot, it's all about learning to love yourself before you attempt loving anybody else. And then you have you can see there's a lot of sacrifices here actually in the Minor Arcana. With 7 of Swords, it's almost like that's kind of like a career, and it's almost like you just want to be on your own. You want to work on your own. You're not really connecting that well with the people you work with. You know what you're doing, but you'd rather just be kind of like unsupervised, not managed, micromanaged certainly, but at the same time you don't really have that work environment where you work with your friends, you're connecting, you have colleagues, you have like this great work life. It's just you on your own kind of thing. Seven of Pentacles is the same thing. It's like you're sacrificing maybe in finances. It's like you're looking after what you already have, but you might run out of resources if you don't make some changes, or you might sacrifice too much on the material. Seven of Cups, you're sacrificing in love. It's like you don't even know what's real. It's like, you know, what is actually real? Is this a real love, or what is it? You know, you can't make up your mind, and it's taking you on a bit of a spin as well. Seven of Wands is when that is when you're kind of at an advantage point in your life, but you're kind of stuck at the same time. It's like you have an advantage, but now it's like, where do you go from here? What else is there to learn? What else is there to achieve? Are you going to let go of your position to be part of the world again, or are you going to stand there alone on the mountaintop where you have the advantage, but you might feel isolated at the same time? So the sevens are always there to tell you that now is a time for you to change the way you're thinking about things. You might sacrifice too much in your life, and you might not have, whatever it is that's happening will help you spiritually, but it's like you're also going to have to function on this plane as well. And you might feel like if to function spiritually, you have to let go of a lot here. You have to let go of your relationships, and you have to let go maybe of abundance. Maybe you have to let go of having people in your life. Maybe you have to let go of a lot of the things that actually makes life good, so that you can be focusing on the internal, and also very cerebral. 7 is also a very cerebral number. In relationships, if you get a lot of 7s, especially if you get triple 7s, so if 3 of these show up, doesn't really matter which one, but if you get 3 7s showing up, even if they're not particularly romantic cards, like let's say you get 7 of Wands, maybe you get 7 of Swords, these aren't romantic cards, maybe you get the Tower, that can actually still, doesn't matter if it's these 3 cards and they're not romantic cards, it's 3 7s, and when they show up in your tarot, it speaks of sacrifices still, but it also speaks of a spiritual connection with somebody. If you're asking about love, a spiritual connection with somebody that is so deep that you're kind of willing to sacrifice, you're willing to you're willing to just let go of everything you thought you knew to explore this connection. So often when 777 is showing up in a love reading, then there is a very strong karmic connection between people, a very strong soul and spiritual connection that will bring some kind of transformation that's going to be huge in the seeker's life. So huge, in fact, that they might never ever be the same again. Whatever happens in that relationship, it is something that will be profound. Now, the 7s will always ask you to examine your thoughts, examine what you're thinking, look at how much you're sacrificing. Prayer is really important. Ask all the big questions. You're going on a journey, whether you're aware of it or not, a spiritual journey, whether you're aware of it or not. And whatever you're thinking, whatever it is that you are actually repeating in your head, you can actually really manifest very, very quickly. So be careful as well what you're thinking. Your thoughts are energy, and it will materialize in some way. So if you're thinking a lot of fearful thought, if you're thinking of very, very, fearful thoughts, maybe you're angry with somebody, maybe you have some kind of resentment or grudge, these thoughts have a huge effect on your life at the moment when a lot of 7s are showing up. If you have very positive thinking, if you have a lot of loving thoughts, and if you use prayer and meditation, that will have an enormous positive effect. So the 7s in your tarot readings always have to tell you to focus on what you're thinking, what you're believing deep down. What is in your heart, what is creating, what's in your heart often shows up in your head. And sometimes what's in your head shows up in your heart. But a lot of times it's actually the fears that you have in your heart shows up as some kind of, negative loop in your head. And it's often a fear of abandonment. It's a fear of, it can be a fear of not even existing, of just disappearing and becoming nothing. That's like the ultimate fear a lot of people have. And that can create a lot of stressful thoughts, a lot of stressful thinking. And when you get a lot of sevens, then it's really, really important that you find out why and how those thoughts are really serving you, because they're serving some purpose in your life, and they're often there to keep you safe. And that is what 7 of Wands is often about. It's about, you want to stay at an advantage position, you want to be safe, but at the same time you don't want to be so safe and so in the advantage position that no one can reach you, that there's no real connections in your life, that there's nothing really going on that can, that makes you feel like you're even human anymore. Same with 7 of Swords. You're so in your head, you're so afraid of anyone sort of controlling you or getting in under your skin or even being a huge part of your life, that you're kind of missing out. 7 of Cups as well, you're always searching, but are you going to search for the rest of your life? What about if you never find it, if you're always searching? Maybe it's fun to search, maybe that's more exciting. Find out how it serves you, but you want to get to somewhere, you want to get some kind of connection at some point. The 7s are always about making a real connection, a real spiritual connection. 7 of Pentacles, the same thing. It's like you're looking at at everything you already have, and that's great. You're being grateful for what you have, but don't be so hung up in your possessions that you don't see what else is out there, how much more you can have. The Chariot it's when you want to you want to be the hero, you want to save the day, but you need to be able to save yourself first. You want to be able to love yourself before you attempt to love anybody else. And the Tower is when you have created some kind of tower of illusion in your life, and then it's just someone or something happens and that illusion gets completely shaken up, and you cannot live in your tower anymore, and that would be very uncomfortable, most likely emotionally, until you finally feel and you realize that you're actually much better off without that tower, because at least then you're living, and you're living. The Tower of Illusion is like it's kind of like whatever structures you build up around yourself so that you can have, it's often a false illusion of safety, and it might be also how you're thinking about something as well that's not exactly correct thinking, and then once you're out of that tower, and you might feel like you don't even know what's going to happen or what's real, but whatever is going to happen from then on, it's going to actually be much more based in truth and much more based in what you're actually meant to be doing. So that is something to think about when you get to Tower, so that don't be afraid. The Tower is not there to hurt you, it's actually there to free you, and that is the real meaning behind the Tower. So that was a little tutorial in how numerology is actually showing up in your readings to guide you, to tell you a little bit about how you're living, to give you some answers. The tarot card meanings they get their meanings a lot from the numerology as well. So and it can help you also read card combinations when you understand what number is repeating itself the most, what suit is repeating itself the most. It will tell you a lot on what is actually going on in your life and how you're thinking, how your emotional well-being is creating on the physical plane as well. And that's all I wanted to say today. Okay, bye bye.